Hello and welcome to Hare in the Hawthorn. My name's Kate Ray and I'm your host, and we're back for the mini season of personal experiences. We've seen quite a few people talking about the weird and the wonderful that's happened to them. And again, I have no idea what kind of stories that are going to come out. But what I am going to tell you about is the guest that I've got with me at the minute. We've just been sat talking for over an hour as our pre-record chat, which doesn't usually happen. We've just been chin-wagging away. So I'm kind of like all over the place, and I hope he's going to kind of help me bring it back down into being concise. I don't think either of us can be concise within a time limit, which is a good thing, because we've just discussed about him already. He's coming back, and we've got great ideas for a future show where it's going to be longer, and you'll hear us rambling like a couple of coffee-fueled ramblers. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, I'm going to welcome Sion Marc to Hare in the Hawthorn, because he's got 1,000,001 stories to tell, but I've asked him to sort of choose one specifically for this show and to share with you guys. And this is going to be a flavour possibly of things to come in that bigger conversation that we're going to have. So welcome, Sion Marc. It's great to have you on board. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm kind of shattered now after we've had that hour-long conversation. I wish we'd have recorded it. I really do, because it was
should have done.
Super interesting stuff that came out of it. I think we're both kind of, all over the place with thoughts, which is brilliant. Anyway, let's not do this, because we're all going to go into those realms again. So there was one particular story that you wanted to convey to people about an experience that you've had. Do you want to, start off with that for us?
Yeah, sure. I chose this one because it more related to the sort of stuff, the fairy stuff and the earth stuff, and that you are into. So I thought this would be a good one for you. Basically, it was probably about 96. I was working in Bilborough. Mm-hmm. And I used to walk down Aspie Lane to and from work. And one particular day I was walking, actually no, it was probably about a week or so. On this road, there's little copses of trees that are like fenced off and houses are around them. And I was always drawn to one particular tree for no reason. It wasn't in the middle of this copse or in a prominent position. And I always was drawn to this yew tree. And I always used to think, that's weird. And I always used to notice it, even if I was, on my phone or talking to someone, I'd sort of be, oh, there's that tree kind of thing. Anyway, one day I was walking back from work. It was probably twilight. So it probably would have been like July time. And I happened to, again, look across at this tree, and I can't even, when you get like it's really hot summer, and if you look down the street you get that kind of heat effect where everything wobbles. I saw that on this tree, this again the same yew tree, and I kind of looked, and as I looked, I can describe it as, you've seen those moths that live on trees and their camouflage is so good it looks like they're part of the bark. Well, it was like that, but it was a humanoid shape and size, and it stepped out of the tree, and it was covered in the bark of the tree, and it just stood still. I got the impression it was looking at me, or the hairs on the back of my neck went up, and I was like, what am I looking at? And my first thought was dryad. It's a tree spirit. And then it kind of just stepped back into the bark of the tree again, and it was lost. And I was like, is this why I was looking at this tree all this time? Was I picking up on it? Was it kind of looking at me and going, oh, that guy's into tree stuff, maybe I'll show myself to him one day or something. I don't know. But it was such a bizarre experience because it was perfectly solid, perfectly in color. It was literally like the tree became a man, but as it stepped out, the tree was still there. There was no hole in the tree. And then it's just stepped backwards again into the tree. It was a short, bizarre experience that I actually think I saw what I would call a dryad, a tree spirit.
So was it
I don't know,
was it human height? Was it man height and man size? Wow. So you couldn't have missed it being a smaller being, or misinterpreted it. Wow.
This is what I thought at the time, because me not knowing much about this stuff, I'd assume little people, leprechaun-y, like gnome, foresty type. This was a tall, slender, maybe 5'11", not quite 6 foot build dude with no face, no features, but with mass, covered, everything was the same color and texture as the tree, the bark of the tree. And you's got quite a heavy kind of texture on it. And it just stepped out probably 3 or 4 feet from the tree. And I'm across Aspen Lane, so it's probably 30, 40 feet away. There were people walking past, but no one noticed it. So it wasn't like, you know, a bike went past, a guy on the bike went down Aspen Lane, and I could see this thing behind him, but no one seemed to notice it but me. And it was so bizarre. And I sort of stored it on the shelf. I was okay, store that. And I used to always go back. And when I left that area a year or so later, I mean, I never saw it again, but I always used to go back and talk to the tree. I'd leave it some lavender, I'd leave it an offering, because, you know, as far as I was concerned, it had shared something with me that was quite beautiful. And it was quite moving to me. And I went back when I left the area and left it an offering. And it was just bizarre. For some random reason, it decided to show itself. I got the impression it was male, but you know, I couldn't see any genitalia. It was just a special imprint or a feeling that it was male. And yeah, it just showing itself, you know, this stuff is real, look. And then
I mean, maybe, you know, you put all that time and that energy into respecting and noticing that tree, that tree was like, I need to show you that I'm noticing you back, you know, that.
Well, it made me wonder if all trees are like that. And it's just that I didn't leave offerings or anything like that. I would just notice it, clock it, and be like, oh, that's a really cool tree, and then go home. Like, it was no big deal. But sure, I can bet you afterwards, I would go and talk to it and leave it. And it was just a little yew tree at the back of this copse that was near someone's house. They must have thought I was crazy. But yeah, it was just totally random. But I think you're right. Maybe it just thought, this guy's into animism, he's into earth-based stuff. Let's just show him, you know, one of those things that strengthens your faith. Let's just show him that this stuff is real. And then step back again.
And we at that time, where were you on the scale of things with understanding and belief in the Fae world? Was it something that you were into? It was something that you understood of, or is it just on the parameters of thinking? Or
it's one of those things that I knew enough and had seen enough to give it the respect it was due. It wasn't a path that I actively followed. I didn't go and talk to rocks or trees or things in nature like I would do now. After having this event, it's kind of like, well, shit, you know, if I've seen it in a tree, who's to say that rock or that river hasn't got one? It made me appreciate nature more, because I'm not going to go and, you know, cause havoc to something, because that thing's probably got a spirit, and I know because I've seen one. But it was kind of like when I've seen shadow men or other stuff before, it's, oh, okay, right. And then it just gets stored, and I just think, okay, it's stored. If I need to come back at some other stage, it's in there, but not make so much of a big deal that I kind of build it up into something and add stuff to it that really wasn't part of the initial experience. I like to keep it, this is what happened, boom, it's stored, and if I need to come back to it, I can. I'd read a lot of books about Celtic mythology years before, and I knew enough to give nature its respect, but I wouldn't say that I was, you know, actively. I've been camping in Sherwood and seen things in the trees, and the person I went with would say, he used to call them elves, but I think looking back, because he was into a lot of the Games Workshop stuff at the time, and to him, people that lived in forests were elves, like wood elves and stuff. So I think he used that term for that reason. And I've seen things in the forest, and I'm not sure if they were earth spirits or just spooks or what, I don't know. But no, I've no idea why I saw it. You know, it wasn't like I was a druid and I saw, you know, something that would resonate with me in particular, other than the fact of, holy shit, I've just seen a tree spirit.
Have you looked into the kind of the spiritual aspect of the yew tree to see if that's got any resonation within you about, you know, if there's any connection with that?
No, not actively. No, maybe I should. At the time, I did used to go and sit under trees, but that's because I suffer from anxiety, and I actually find being in nature quite calming.
Yeah.
And sitting with my back against a tree and talking to myself, whatever's around, openly voicing stuff. I've always done that. So maybe they just thought, oh, it's that dude. Let's just show him that he's not talking to himself. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, do you know about yew trees? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, they're a highly sacred tree. I mean, right. Churchyards have got them, and it said that a lot of the yew trees in churchyards were there way before the churches were built. So, they were right. sacred sites to the pagans. I'm going to get slaughtered for saying all this, but Catholics came over, Christianity came over and built on sacred pagan sites, as you know, and these trees remained because even Christianity had a fear of chopping these things down. So they're incredibly sacred trees. But other than that, it's not a tree that's, and I'm ashamed to say this because I'm a dendrophile. I love woodlands, but the yew tree is something that's never really called to me in its energy. That sounds way hippie, but I mean, maybe
maybe I should look into it. I mean, I read about the oak, and I read, because that's obviously big in Celtic stuff and that kind of stuff, but it was always kind of like a passing interest. It was never, it's not like I can look back and go, you know what, this is confirmation bias. You were studying Druidism, you were, and this was just me randomly walking from work one evening, looking across at a tree that used to catch my attention, and then seeing this, and then like being moved by it in a way that I can't explain.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't like I was looking for this experience. I just wanted to go home and have my dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's one of those things. But to me, when I hear stories like that, it just adds to the gravitas of it, because why me? Why then? I don't know. It just did.
Brilliant. I love that story. I really do, and I'm genuinely happy that somebody's come at me with a tale from the natural world of the weird. So thank you so much for letting us know that. We will use this as a hop-off point, but what I want to say is to people watching this, if you know stuff about yew trees, can you please sort of drop in the comments the things that you know on a spiritual level, because I think that's really going to help look at this from a different perspective. If you are somebody who knows your dryad stuff inside and out as well, if you could drop some stuff down there, if you've had these kind of experiences, these woodland experiences, these experiences with tree spirits, please let us know. And any questions that you've got about this topic, drop them down, because I will be having Sion Marc back. We are going to do sit and probably talk for about 10 hours, I would assume, about all things weird and spooky, and probably go off into tangents that are completely irrelevant to where we've started from. But
guaranteed.
Absolutely guaranteed. And I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing this. And
my pleasure.
I will definitely have you back. So enjoy the rest of your night. Again, anybody who wants to drop a comment below, I do read them all. Like I've said before, though, I'm a bit of a technical potato, so getting back to your comments is something that I don't do regularly enough. But I will chat about those comments at a later date. So thank you very much for welcome, and thank you for watching, and thank you very much to my guest, Sion Marc. Thank you very much.
No problem.
I'll see you soon.